Hello, everybody, and welcome to WTS 264. My name is Danny Murray.
I'm Graham Merrigan.
Distracted by your phone at the intro, man. My God. This is why we haven't won an award in several years. And meanwhile, there's me, a multi-award TV personality, because I don't get distracted and I'm professional when I do the job.
How are you, Danjo?
I'm great, man. Sure, it's, toughest decision I've had to make all week is what side of the mantelpiece my many TV awards are going on. So I'm flying, Grant. Flying. How are you? Is your mantelpiece laden with silverware?
No, it's not.
Didn't think so, because you're not a multi-award TV personality like me. Anyway, Graham, have you had a good week?
Yeah, started in your gaff.
That's true. Yeah, we had a rare face-to-face moment.
Yeah. What were we there for, Dan?
Well, I'm getting married soon, Graham, so we decided to get
going to the checkpoint and we're gonna get married.
And we got the groomsmen and the bridesmaids together, just so that, to get rid of some of the awkwardness on the day for people who haven't met each other, so to speak. And I had a nice day. Got to eat pizza. Was delighted with eating pizza.
I had a great day. I was just disappointed the dogs weren't there.
I'd sent them on a holiday, Graham. There was a lot of people around. Would have been a lot of excitement, especially for Lupo. He doesn't do well with that level of excitement, would tip him over the scales.
Right, fair enough.
Graham, who is our sensational guest this week, please, and thank you?
Our sensational guest, he was covering the Taylor Serrano fight. He's got the best dimples in all of the world. I used to say Ireland, but it's now just the best dimples ever.
It's because he's gone global now. He is global now. Beyond belief.
He's big for us, so we're actually honoured to have him on for about the 12th time. But his dimples just make me smile every time I see them, as well as his dog Reggie and his lovely partner Elaine. They're a great trio. It's the amazing, sensational, the Blanchardstown butcher, Petesy Carroll.
Leesons are gonna fucking kill me if you're calling me the Blanchardstown butcher. Them lads have been here for too long. Do you know what I mean? But I'll accept that, lads. I'm delighted to be back. I believe my career has spanned many episodes on this show, each one of them at a different crux of time. I mean, I can remember like 2 times ago, I was like, lads, I don't know if I'm gonna still be doing this in 2 weeks. And then the last one was appearing with Ariel before the launch of the Spotify show. And now this one, my first international trip bar London since the pandemic to New York, which was the scene of an amazing boxing bout on Saturday night.
Unreal. That's mad as well, because I remember the conversation. You were, am I right in saying you were going to apply for a job as a cleaner?
No, that was back in 2017. That was a different one. That was before I got the MMA fighting job.
Right, but I thought you were again before.
I did get that job, by the way. Not just applied for the job, applied and got the job. And I had to turn down your man. And I said to him, he goes, well, what are you doing? And I said, I'm going to cover mixed martial arts. And he was like, oh, best of luck, mate.
Excellent.
There's a part of me that sincerely hopes that he just Googles you every so often, and now he's seeing you in Madison Square Garden covering Fight of the Year, and he's like, son of a bitch did it.
I don't know. Pavel didn't seem to have much respect for the mixed martial arts, to be fair to him, so I doubt he has.
Listen, it's his loss and it's everyone else's gain, Petesy. It's his loss and it's everyone else's gain. But how are you, my friend? Because it's been a minute since we last spoke to you. As you said, you had Ariel with you last time, but now you're back flying solo, so you don't have to behave as well as you did previously.
Yeah, that's it. Like once he's like me, MMA media daddy. I have to watch him P's and Q's around him. But I tell you what, man, seeing him there at that event, like that's I mean, I know he's doing the Jake Paul fight, he was doing the in-ring interviews, but to see him at these events, like he's actually doing as many interviews as Eddie Hearn and Jake Paul. Like it's an incredible amount of influence he carries from our sport into this sport. And me and Chuck were basically we're kind of shadowing him, I'd say, for the media day. And to see the amount of things he has to do, like that face-to-face he did with Hearn and Jake Paul, I don't know if you saw that.
I actually really enjoyed that.
Brilliant. And he brought us into the room to do it. And all you could say was, like, I know different people will evoke different emotions. Like in terms of Hearn, you'll think he's a Del boy. Jake Paul, a lot of people think he's a bullshitter. And there's Ariel there as well. But to see 3 guys like that do something like that, when you're in the room, you can't help but acknowledge how professional all three are at getting
Yeah.
more eyeballs on this sport. Like people saying to us all week, this fight's about Katie Taylor and Serrano. These guys, I don't know why they're in front of so many cameras, but the reason they're in front of all the cameras is to generate this interest that Katie actually won't from speaking. Like we understand what Katie is. She means more to Ireland than any athlete, I believe. And I've said that before that fight this weekend. I don't think there's a fighter or an athlete more unanimously adored in Ireland than Katie Taylor. And this has just amplified everything.
You're 100% right.
Yeah.
When you think of the greats like sports stars, athletes, or whatever, I'm gonna automatically go to Roy Keane.
Same.
It's a divide. It's a divide.
They're polarizing.
Polarizing. You go to anyone else, even to some jockeys, you'll go, he's all right. But everyone is Katie Taylor. I don't think I've ever met anyone that.
I think part of it is that like we've had success in a number of sports, but football and boxing are two global sports. Do you know what I mean? It doesn't matter what country in the world you go to. They know boxing, they know football. They'll be able to tell you at least one person from each of it. And while Paul McGrath and Roy Keane certainly, from an Irish point of view, transcended the sport, Katie Taylor, when you think of female boxing, you think Katie Taylor. And what's more now is it's not just female boxing anymore. It's you think boxing, you think Katie Taylor in there as well. Like it's incredible what she's achieved.
At what point were you sold? Because you weren't sold at the start about her professional career, Danny, in terms of her opponents.
Yeah, but that's me being ignorant and not a boxing aficionado. Like I mean, even watching the fight on Saturday, like I only watched the highlights of it, kind of, and even then I was kind of like, in my uneducated view, I was like, I think she won. Like I mean, but at the same time, there was times where it looked like Serrano was busier and more aggressive, but that's not what it's about overall. I actually saw somebody put that up. I think. And we'll talk about Jake Paul in a minute, Petesy, if that's all right, because interested to get your take on him.
I thought I wanted the whole episode to be about Jake Paul. I thought we agreed that beforehand, lads.
Jake Paul and sandwiches. That's what we talked about.
my two fields of expertise.
But I seen Jake Paul tweet afterwards saying robbed or whatever, and
that's Jake Paul being Jake Paul, though, isn't it?
But his argument then afterwards is the whole thing of like he put up the stat sheet. And it's, the number of punches thrown, the number of punches, all this kind of stuff. So to the uneducated eye, such as myself, I'm looking at that and going, oh, well, but everyone else is meanwhile saying that's not how this works, pal, Well,
like I set the alarm. Like I used to be able to stay up and watch it, but I set the alarm and hoped that my dodgy box wasn't going to act up. And it didn't.
Whoa. Are you trying to tell me that you aren't an official subscriber to the Zone?
Sorry. I was hoping that
the Zone dodgy box. I confused them the whole time.
Yeah. Sorry. I thought the Zone was called the Zone dodgy box. Sorry.
Yeah. So I didn't know it was called the Zone.
Either did I.
I thought it was
dodgy boxes.
I thought it was Dazen.
I fucking called it Dazen to the head of Dazen. The Zone while I was over there.
You didn't know.
Of course I did. I've been calling it Dazen since it came into its inception. I can remember I heard it was called, like Luke Thomas was talking about it and called it the Zone. And I was like, I'm not doing that. I am never doing that. And they're all great people, the Zone people. But I'm sorry, I've actually I've burned it into my mind that it's called Dazen, so I couldn't just go on the spot.
I when I was watching the fight, and Danny, I'm as casual as you are in terms of boxing. I've never done any boxing rules courses or whatever. Do you know what I mean?
Graham, to just to clarify, you're not, because you set your alarm. I watched the highlights and I fast forwarded a little bit.
I'm talking about point scoring and stuff.
Right. Okay. Fair enough.
I fast forwarded a little bit. Christ.
I like for the first 3 rounds, I definitely thought Katie won. 4, 5, and 6, I thought where I would have given to Serrano, particularly 5. And I was
5 the one where she
rocked Katie, yeah. And I particularly thought that could have been a 10-8. If that was 4, 5, 6. But then I thought Katie, like I tweeted before the result was released that I thought it was 6-4, but actually I watched it again on Monday. I actually think it was 7-3 to Katie.
That's how I scored it as well, yeah.
Yeah, and there's people that were like, my brother said he thought Serrano won, but again, I don't know.
I
what
gave
his
5, 6, 7 to Serrano, and that was it.
That was it. Yeah, that was it. Maybe.
But they were close.
5, 6, 7. Yeah.
I think 1 and 2 were close rounds, like competitive rounds, because there was the 2-minute rounds instead of 3-minute we're used to from male boxing. But it was very funny. I was sat beside Chuck Mendenhall from the Ring Around MMA show, my fellow host, and we were watching the first 4 rounds, and we're like, Jesus, these 2-minute rounds, they're not long enough. When you're watching it here, you can't. Then the 5th round came in, and I was like, "This is the longest round I've ever watched in my fucking life."
Yeah. I was like, bloody ring the bell, would you?
Yeah. But I have to say, like, you're asking Danny there about, not being sold in our pro career. I can remember going to a press conference in Ratto Boxing Club ahead of our pro debut. Tiny little club, leaky roof, like, loads of journalists bungled into it. Something the same, like pretty much the size of anyone's box room. And we watched Taylor do a few rounds and hit the pads with Ross Enemy. Then we went to the county club, which used to host the great Vortex nightclub. I don't know if any has ever been there. They used to call it Sticky Floortex because of everyone just spilling their gargle locked all over the ground. But we went there, and at the press conference, Brian Peters was like, to be honest, like, this is an experiment because we don't know if we can actually generate enough money to make this worthwhile. And then 6 years later, I'm sat in Madison Square Garden,
unbelievable,
a sold out arena, Irish people crying all over the place, and then pouring out onto the streets of Midtown. It was like St. Patrick's Day, and you're like, this is incredible that this woman who's constantly overcame odds has landed here 6 years later. 6 years later, she is the talk of the sporting world. Like, it's absolutely incredible. I don't think the Irish have ever been as proud of someone getting a payday, like, the 7 figures, getting that platform, the whole world watching. 1.5 million people watched that fight, more than any other women's combat sports event ever, I think. So, I mean, she is, I think if we were going to put someone forward to represent our country, to be like the national identity of what Ireland is, it would be Katie Taylor. And the reason why is that she just constantly delivers. Like, there is a sense of, even Chuck said this, he goes like, all this talk all week, Serrano's the favorite. He said, if I'm Irish and I saw her walking out the way she did to that, like at the Queen of Boxing, she was really slow. She was very regal. She was looking up, taking everything in. He goes, I had no doubt in my mind as soon as I saw her that she's not going to let these people down. And maybe that's something that we have inside us when we see her fight as well, because she never has, right? Yeah. Even in 2016, she got screwed by these judges. She didn't get a chance to defend her title. So I honestly don't feel Katie Taylor has ever let the country down. And that this is a 20-year-long story now at this stage.
It's unbelievable.
Amazing.
I remember talking to friends. You were saying there about Serrano was favorite going into it. And I remember talking to 2 of my friends that are big into boxing. They're not into the score, and they're into everything. They were at Katie Taylor's first professional fight. And
big Jake Paul fan, so yeah.
Yeah. So I remember saying to them, I remember asking one of them, my friend Larry, he's in Australia, I remember asking, why is Amanda favorite? And he was suggesting that it was obviously because of the last 2 performances, but he also said that those performances were amazing by Katie, the previous 2, because she went into the 2 fights carrying a calf injury in her leg. So that was probably why the betting going into the fight was all in favor of Serrano.
And I'd say it's the fact that Paul is in her corner and he's so public, right? Like, even though we don't see it in our everyday lives, like, this is something that I've had to learn to understand about Jake Paul. Like, just because our mates aren't talking about him, or just because MMA circles in Ireland aren't talking about him, or boxing circles in Ireland aren't talking about him, he's bringing eyeballs from a completely different world.
Yeah.
Like, all these not children, teenagers, whatever they are, they know who he is. And then she's, her association with him has put her on a higher platform than ever. But to be fair to her, she fought like a dog on Saturday night. Like, she fought like a savage, and she really, like, I mean, you can understand if this fight was made again, the odds being very tight again, because it was a very close fight.
Yeah.
It was a game of inches in the end, really,
Well, is that the natural progression now, that they run this one back, but they run it back in Ireland?
Well, I think if they can generate that much interest in this fight, and they can sell out Madison Square Garden with this fight, I think doing it, it's like doing a Crow Park, doing an Aviva, doing something like that is the natural progression. I have to say, I saw reports this morning talking about October, and that made me go, well, this isn't happening.
Yeah.
Because Eddie Hearn said to us after the event, the press conference, he was like, if it's going to be Crow Park, or maybe it was actually Ariel's show the following day, he was in studio. He said, if we're going to make this fight happen, it needs to happen. Like, we need to get the wheels going in the next week. Like, we need to have a date, because let's be honest, lads, we've all lived here our whole lives. Dublin in October is not predictable. And if you're going to
it has been in the last 2 or 3 years, though. It's been
that's climate change. That's climate change.
Yeah, it's been very dry.
But imagine if you put a roof over the ring, right, Merrill, and you have all those floor passes, and they'd be the best seats to get, and then it just starts fucking thundering down. Fair enough, the athletes won't be wet, but it will affect the crowd. Like, you want to have multiples of the atmosphere that happened at MSG, and that was fucking crazy, to be honest, man. It's like something I've never seen before.
So why wouldn't September work then?
Just all Ireland stuff like that. I don't know why.
Garth Brooks in there in September.
Friends in low places, unfortunately. Yeah.
Indeed. Yeah. And let's hope the thunder doesn't roll.
He was delighted with it.
Immediately smiled. I did it again, didn't I, lads?
The minute roll finished.
That's why he is a multi award winning TV personality. That's what it is, man.
Thank you, Petesy, for that acknowledgement.
No problem, man.
But yeah, that's why it won't be September, Graham.
What was it like, Petesy, covering boxing in America?
I didn't try
covering MMA.
Yeah, I didn't. Like, I mean, Gav Casey, all those boys are going to be there for the real shit. You know, if you want to get into technique and all that stuff. I was never going to pretend to be one of those people from the outset. I wasn't. I was just talking about what Katie means to Ireland, what it means to the Irish people over there. I had to do some extensive research in Irish bars across New York to get that information.
Oh, so, 100%.
And this is why you're the journalist, Pete. You find the source, like.
You know, I did. It was very difficult, you can imagine, to find sources in New York to talk about Ireland, but I did it. I went out there and put myself out there for it. I don't think people like Ariel Awani understand that sometimes you're showing up at 8 o'clock in the morning for work and maybe you haven't slept, and, you know, they don't understand why. And you're like, you know, I was thoroughly embedded in research for the last 24 hours. So, yeah, I mean, it really does, though. I'm not messing. I went to Queens. My friend Aisling lives over there, and we actually met Aisling at the 2016 fight in Madison Square Garden, and she lives in Queens. So I was like, I don't know what my week's like gonna be other than this. So I'll go out and meet you in Queens. What I didn't know about Queens is every second fucking shop is an Irish bar. So we're going along and we're meeting Irish people from all over the place. People who are illegal over there. People who've been there since the 80s, and the passion they had ahead of this fight, 5 days out, like. You know, I know from covering MMA fights, sometimes people, locals, don't hear about these fights until a couple of days before, when it starts to be on TV, when it starts to be in the news rounds. These people were so ready for Katie Taylor, so buzzing to be there, asking if tickets were still available. They weren't. You know, it was just amazing. That, like, from the start.
Coverage was excellent for it, though, wasn't it? Generally speaking.
Yeah, I thought it was brilliant. Even over there, like, they were on, you know, Good Morning America, I think, one of the days, things like that.
Yeah.
And look, that's why I don't understand people saying Hearn and Paul, why are they getting platformed here? Like, it was magic seeing Hearn dressing this lad down, like saying what everyone in boxing wants to say to this guy. He's saying it to him. You're average, you know, and average is a compliment. Like, I know that has nothing to do with Katie Taylor and Serrano, but the fact is, it was all feeding back into that event. Why are they here? Why are they sitting down here making bets? You know, all these interactions were there to hold this event up and give it the platform it deserved. So I think without them, it doesn't touch the numbers it touched. Without those guys involved, it's not going to be as big as it was. So, you know, I know boxing people are purists and they want the sport to be the sport, but this is boxing evolving. And I know Jake Paul isn't the person you wanted to be involved for the evolution of boxing. And I don't think he's a good boxer. I understand what he's doing completely. I mean, our sport, MMA, is full of circus freaks and different things like that are brought in along the years for attractions, but you have to understand their value too. And I think that's case in point on MSG on Saturday night, that he has value and he does help boxing.
I think
absolutely well said.
Yeah, it's, and I say this again as I don't even casual would be paying me a compliment beyond what I deserve when it comes to boxing. I'll watch the big fights. I'll kind of pick up a few bits here and there, but I admittedly know very, very little about the sport. But over the last couple of years, the Paul brothers have dragged boxing kicking and screaming, not just into newspapers and onto like shows like Good Morning America or stuff like that. They've brought it to the TikTok generation. They've brought it to social media and Instagram stories and all these places where the eyes that are now on it, as you were saying, PT, it's a whole new audience that's coming to it now. And they're coming to it because these, as annoying as they may be, they've fucking pulled that attention in.
What are they famous for, lads? I don't know them. Like I know
they were Disney kids, weren't they?
Were they?
Then they parlayed their audience from Disney into their own YouTube channel. So they went
Disney kids.
They were Disney kids, yeah. And their YouTube channel has
like
millions. Exactly
so.
like that. Yeah, I think the Mickey Mouse Club, but it wasn't called the Mickey Mouse Club or whatever.
I only knew them from WWE. Logan has been in WWE a few times.
I heard he was brilliant on WWE.
He was excellent.
He was very good. He was very good. Yeah.
And he looked like he picked it up straight away. Like, you know. And there's another program open for him to come back. You know.
Yeah.
SummerSlam, which probably will happen as well, because they're doing the big four events now in WWE in stadiums, Petesy. Wow. So they're all going to be in stadiums.
The first time these brothers crossed. The first time that they came onto my radar at all was Logan Paul was in Japan and they were filming for his YouTube channel, and he went to the suicide forest and filmed a body. I think it was hanging from a tree or whatever it was.
He was eviscerated. He was eviscerated on
absolutely, and and
rightfully so. Like,
100%.
He went where, Danny?
There's a forest in Japan, and it's known as the suicide forest. It's where people just go to say, that's it, I'm checking out, because people have troubles, that kind of thing. And he went there, and I mean, I don't know, it was very uncomfortable to watch it, like at the time or whatever. But essentially, they happen upon someone who has just committed suicide, like hanging. And he filmed the entire thing, and as Pete said, he was absolutely, rightfully so, eviscerated for it.
Did he apologize for it?
Yeah, but I mean,
like in a public, in the this is probably 10 years ago, is it?
Yeah, I'd say maybe 5 or 6 years ago. Yeah.
Jeez, I must be living under a rock.
But I tell you what, like, considering that, right, when that happened, I think he was probably the most hated man on earth.
Yeah,
honestly, like, and like, this is the first we've all heard of him. The reason why we're hearing him isn't because he made a funny video; it's because he made a horrific video, right? But to see him now, what he's doing since then, and his ability to bounce back, like after this ignorant thing he did, this obnoxious thing he did, it's quite impressive. Like, I mean, it's impressive that when I'm hearing about him, it's like, holy shit, this guy just boxed Mayweather, and he stayed in there, he looked all right, and I know he's 700 pounds heavier than him. And then the next time I hear about him, it's like wrestling fans telling me, like, that guy showed up and he killed it on WrestleMania. Like, I'm nobody even, like, I know he has a college wrestling background, right? But this pro wrestling is very different. And to see him go out and do that in front of, on the biggest stage of the sport,
no less.
That's mad. Fair play to him. Like, you know what I mean? Always heavily outweighing.
As part of his ring attire, he had a Pokemon card worth 2 or 3 million in a chain. Class. That was part of his ring attire. Like.
It was 2018 was the Suicide Forest video.
Wow, was that? I thought it was a long time ago.
Exactly, and
it actually makes me feel like it is that long ago. The fact that he's reinvented himself. Like,
I was going to say, and in a way, it makes it even more impressive that in the space of 4 years, he went from, as you said, being the most hated man in the world. Because I mean,
honestly, 10 years.
but that's what I mean. Like, it felt like a different world ago compared to what we're hearing
But
now,
I think the fact that within 4 years, he's gone and fought Floyd Mayweather from that to that.
Lads, how did he get a Floyd Mayweather fight?
I don't know, man.
With no combat sport background, like
Floyd Mayweather
exhibition. It wasn't a fight. It was an exhibition. You see.
Oh, okay.
And Floyd knows how to make money, man. He sees an opportunity.
Jake is more of that's boxing. What Jake is doing, but Logan's doing exhibitions.
I guess so. But like, in the same time, Logan's like on the wind up. He's out knocking out MMA fighters that are well by their sell by date. It's like But it, like, the thing is, why would he do anything different if it's causing this much of a stir every time? Like, people are like, when are you going to fight a real boxer? Mate, he's relying on the MMA fans to tune in and be like, please don't lose for our sport again, and then they get fucking chinned, and everyone's like, "Oh, for fuck's sake!" You know?
Well, when they came on my radar, it was against Ben Askren. That's when I first heard of them.
And jiu-jitsu lads across the country were like, "We have to watch this because Ben Askren was a great wrestler." And I'm like, "Yeah, but that means nothing." Like, but like, I knew he was gonna get knocked out. You know what I mean? He was only back from a back surgery or something.
He just did that for the money, the state of him and the fight.
Well, unfortunately, the MMA fighters are paid so poorly. Like, there's going to be an everlasting list of men who will get in the ring with him to fight him because, like, look, most of these guys are fighting Jake Paul, and they're like, "This is like more money than I made in my 15-year MMA career."
But see, and is that as well the kind of the crux of the issue? Because people bemoaning his involvement and Eddie Hearn's involvement or whatever, or the way that they were trotted out for Taylor Serrano. But as you said, like, the payday that Katie Taylor has got from this one fight it's no coincidence that Jake Paul is involved.
Yeah, I believe so. Like, I just, I'm hearing rumors now that she's buying herself a Lamborghini yacht, and I'm like, oh no, not Katie as well.
She'll never do that.
I'm only messing, but I have to say, like, Hearn is different because he's a boxing man. His father was a boxing man. And honestly, like, I don't think there's a better promoter in combat sports now at the moment. Like, I mean, that fella is Del Boy. Like, he is literally up there selling things to people that didn't even need things. You go in with 4 jackets on and he's holding up a 4. Somehow you give him 500 quid for you. And like, what happened there? Like, I don't even know what happened there. And I think it's like, I was talking to Helwani about this because Helwani's raving about him. Like, I mean, if you think about his career and how he was completely ousted by the UFC and Dana White, these people who don't see the value in this fella with the biggest platform in the sport, constantly promoting the sport and promoting his events, it's ridiculous for him to like walk into this sport and 2 of the biggest names in it have their arms wide open, like knowing the impact he'll have and giving him that respect. Him, when he's speaking about Hearn, he's like, I don't think I've seen anything like this guy before. Like, he's a handsome devil, 6'4", but he's very self-deprecating. He's constantly like laughing at himself, being like, "Oh, he has whole channels on Twitter, fucking basically dedicated to the moments where he's just looking like an idiot."
No context. Eddie Hearn is a great fucking Twitter account.
Like, I mean, he.
Why do people hate him though? I don't see any. I find him quite listenable. Like.
Yeah, I do too. I think it's just whatever side of the fence you're on. Maybe you're more of a Frank Warren guy. Maybe, they don't like the fact that he thinks Anthony Joshua could beat Tyson Fury. But his job isn't to give his opinion. His job is to promote his fighters.
Yeah.
And if you saw what he did at the undercard, like, Dana White probably can't tell you what the undercard is for this weekend's UFC 274 event, which is a huge event. Probably doesn't know anything outside the top 3 fights, the title fights, and whatever else is going on. Tony Ferguson and Michael Chandler is the whatever else. But on the undercard, he wouldn't be able to tell you anything, I wouldn't say. And we saw Eddie Hearn walk out on stage with the whole undercard. So this isn't even the top 6 fights, and he's literally pointing at each one. This guy is so interesting because this happened to him when he was a kid. He's fighting this guy over here. This fellow was amazing Gold Gloves champion. He actually went off and he was working full time and he came back to boxing. He's telling you a story about every single one of them. And he's just reeling it off. He's not looking at any notes. He's just in it. This is like, Ariel kept on saying, this is Dana White circa 2009, 2010, when he was rattling the combat sports industry and boxing promoters just couldn't keep up with him. Bob Arum's too old. Frank Warren's too old. Here's a guy that's tapping into the vein of what combat sports fans feel. And that's what Hearn is now. And I don't think Taylor would be anywhere without him. And because Hearn was willing to, shake the devil's hand, which is Jake Paul, they made one of the most memorable boxing moments in history in Madison Square Garden on Saturday night.
I don't think Jake Paul is that much of an arsehole though. Anytime, like,
he is.
Is he?
No, but I mean, he has a great way of winding people up, and I don't even know, like, until I was in that room and I saw Helwani and that doing the face off, I thought it was just naturally like, oh, he's a bit of an arsehole and it rubs people up the wrong way. But there's definitely a method to the madness. Like, I even know from my own friends watching his fights, like, one of my mates will pretend to be a Jake Paul fan to wind everyone else up. Like, he'd be saying, like, it's every day, bro, all that kind of shit like this, everything. He's the coolest guy in the world, blah, blah, blah. And then it will be eating away at the boxing guy's head. He'd be like, what the fuck are you talking about? But that's why when the event starts, they're stuck to it like glue. Then
Yeah.
But the head-to-head with Eddie was great.
Brilliant. I thought it was brilliant. Being there and you're trying not to laugh, like from the get-go, that becomes hilarious. Like straight
You were
away.
in the studio for that, were you?
Me and Chuck were there, yeah, and we were standing way back. And I fucking had to walk out of the room a couple of times because I just pissed myself laughing. Because everything's meant to be tense, right? If you're allowing a studio audience to be there and we're all ha-ha-haing, like, I mean, it kind of changes the atmosphere of what it is. So they've got like blinding lights on them to the point where they probably can't even see anyone beyond the lights that are there, and it's the three of them. But you'll even hear it if you watch it. There's moments there where the whole fucking room just explodes. The whole room being about 4 or 5 people.
Yeah,
you know. But
it's sorry, I'll cut you off there, Pete.
Eddie loves Helwani, doesn't he?
Loves him, calls him the GOAT all the time. I mean, everybody loves him.
He is the GOAT. And it's not just MMA; it's combat sports. Now Ariel's wheelhouse in terms of what he brings.
Yeah, he can't get credentials for the UFC for fuck's sake.
He can get credentials, but he's not arse going.
And to be honest, but this is the thing: he's transcended it. He doesn't need the UFC anymore. So, like, do you know what I mean? It's like it's insane to like from where he was, and then you think about a couple of years ago and the shit he went through. And now there's fighters who can walk through lobbies in Las Vegas on fight day and not be bothered because people won't know them. Ariel walks through the lobby and people get up out of their seat to run over and fucking talk to him or get a selfie.
Like we were walking out of the. No, sorry, we were finished. We recorded our post-fight show in the locker room in the bells at MSG right beside where the press conference happened. And Ariel's kind of sat at the door there. And he's doing the show, but as people are walking past, they're stopping and like pointing at him, like Tony Bellew, Jake Paul, Eddie Hearn. And then we finish the show and we're getting up and we're like, geez, we think that went great. And Katie walks straight up to him. She's like, Ariel, thank you so much for everything you've done this week. And we're looking at her like, you've just been in there. We're all like, we all barely spoke. You know, we're all just like, even Ariel's like, and we're like, geez, that was brilliant, Katie, blah, blah, blah. It was all over before it even started. You know, she was gone then.
Yeah.
And like Ariel turned around and he's like, I've never said this before, but I wanted to ask her for a picture there. I said, this is history. Like I didn't, but he was like, I really, really wanted to, you know? And then we go to the press conference, everybody's trying to shake his hand. So Brian Peters is running around introducing them. And as Ariel always does, as soon as anyone says hello to him and you're standing beside him, this is Petesy Carroll. This is his co-host of my podcast, blah, blah, blah. He told me all about you, you know, trying to rub anything he has off on everyone that's around him. He's there's no one else like him.
He loves Katie Taylor, Petesy, even before like the last 3 or 4 years in her pro career, he's just been following her since the beginning. And he just loves her, doesn't he?
Do you know what his infatuation started with her was when he was sent a clip of her showing up on the Late Late Show a few years ago.
The toy show.
Surprised the child, and she started bawling.
That girl was on the Late Late Show last week.
Oh, really?
She was on the Late Late Show on Friday in the crowd, and Ryan interviewed her ahead of the fight on the Saturday.
Class.
Tell Ariel that.
He just said it was such a wholesome thing. And then when he rang me to talk about her one day, and I was like, you know, I was going on for about 2 hours about her, like different, like, you know, they wheel fucking TVs into schools when she was in the World Championships before she even got to the Olympics. They were wheeling fucking the one, the big
TV on the trolley
unit. Yeah. Here we go. They were rolling them into classrooms to watch her fight, and I was like, you know, she's nothing like her. Like, I don't have.
Does he know that she's the Irish international as well at football?
Yeah, I've told him. Yeah, I've told him all that. He asked her about it on his show. I wrote all the questions, though. You know what I mean? Listen, mate, I sent you on a Word doc, make you look good again. I do it for all his interviews.
Was she on the MMA hour?
Yeah, she was on the MMA hour.
Not this week.
This was a while ago when when the talks of the Serrano fight. Like, I feel like he's so intertwined with this event. It was so good to see him there, and you know, and for everybody to understand his value. Like, I mean, even the boxing guys, it's undeniable. And you know, I didn't know how they'd take it. I wouldn't have even been angry with the boxing guys if they were like, fuck these MMA lads showing up this week, blah, blah, blah. Didn't get a bit of it. Everybody was bang on. Everybody from...
That's just the MMA community that's insecure.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. They always seem to go postal on each other online, but like, I was never going to come in and start telling those boys about their sport around. You know what I mean? Like that.
But I think at the end, and this is it, I don't get
why you're a nice person.
Combat sport can coexist. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, there's no. It's that.
If everybody's watching, wouldn't it be so much better for everyone? Like why, when we want the boxing people to watch MMA, why don't we watch the MMA people watch boxing without going, this is shite, this is shite? Like, when I see that on like MMA people talking about boxing is shite, I'm like, what's wrong with you, man? Like, why? Who hurt you? You know what I mean? Like, what? Don't watch it then. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's lots of shit on the telly on Saturday night, mate.
We've become this fucking generation of people who like that. Like, the easy option is just don't watch it. Just turn it off. Like, you don't have to comment. You don't have to go on Twitter and talk about how you hate what you're watching. Why you put yourself through that? You know what I mean?
And as well as that, like, I know for a fact MMA fans were tuning into that fight at the weekend. They couldn't help themselves with Ariel showing up there, with Jake Paul, with all these personalities. Even Serrano's fought 3 MMA fights. Amanda Serrano has.
Yeah.
You know, like, I feel like it crossed over in the most magical way, man. I couldn't. I'm actually still like in dreamland from being there. You know, like I've never been at an event watching it and covering it like this. Like, this is work for me this week, and turning around to Chuck after nearly every round, going like, I am so happy I'm here to see this. Like, I am so like, I can't believe I'm here to see this. You know,
you mentioned UFC 274, PT. I want to talk to you about that before we start heading our separate ways in a few minutes or whatever. But on this Katie Taylor one, then the success of the event, undeniable. Katie's achievement, undeniable. Serrano's achievement, undeniable. She was so magnanimous in defeat, and I thought her reaction was classy. So fucking classy.
But she didn't think she was robbed.
You know,
well, you got it again. Jake Paul has to say that, right? Like, the only way to make this next, like, it's got to be that fight if you're going to do it again, because of the eyeballs they've pulled. 1.5 million people watched that fight. If they're gonna make people care, it's a rematch, and his angle has to be Amanda Serrano won every fucking round. I don't know what you're talking about, mate. You know,
exactly,
like,
and that's it. You got to make them believe that. You know, but you being there in Madison Square Garden in New York, you ventured around Queens, you've done thorough research in the Irish community. Thorough research.
I'll do it. A lot of people wouldn't, but I'm willing to put my body on the line every time.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely, and this is why we love and respect your craft, my friend. But what are your 3 key takeaways from this? What happens next for Katie, and when, and how does it all come together?
My 3 takeaways, first of all, is that boxing does big events better than MMA does, because everything is so uniform and regimented in MMA. They've put on the uniforms on the guys. They've told them, you know, your entrance is going to be this, and this. Oh, you're going to dance. You're not allowed to do that. You know, you want to wear some type of something on you that shows you more of your personality. Absolutely not. The UFC is the king here, mate. And like, from the third fight from the top, there was massive entrances, massive personalities coming out, different uniforms, different things that were making the fans react. Every fight felt special from about 3 down, and there was memorable things that happened even in the entrances that I'll never forget. And I'm going, Saturday night we have two title fights, and I don't even know if those champions will be allowed to do something a bit out of pocket. We saw Israel Adesanya when he fought Whittaker for the first time breaking into that dance, and he was told for 2 weeks that he couldn't do that, and so eventually they just let him do it at the last day. And we really haven't seen a lot since then in terms of breaking out from the norm. I think that another takeaway is that people often used to say boxing, the best fighters don't fight the best. That was the best fighting the best. And when the best fights the best, it makes something inside of you. I don't know. It becomes something so much bigger than sport. It becomes so much bigger than just an event. You know, I was watching history there as far as I was concerned. And the other takeaway is agreeing with Helwani that Hearn is the best promoter in combat sports at the moment.
Yeah, and I think
that's probably 3 takeaways.
I fully agree with your sentiment on UFC. I mean, you only have to look at Eddie's father, Barry, when he took over promoting the darts. Like, darts was languishing, like no viewers, nothing. And then Barry took it over and made like Premier League darts, and now they're touring. They're in the Point City West 2-3 times a year. You know, he made it sexy almost, the darts. And he's gone back to snooker now, and he's trying, like, loads of people on Sunday were watching the snooker. That, you know, that those eyes probably wouldn't have been on the snooker without Barry Hearn, I don't think. So I think you're deadly right there that UFC MMA companies, they just need to be a bit more sexy. They need to let the lads be more characters and personalities and stuff like that, as opposed to, like you said, regimented uniforms and just a bit boring, isn't it?
It is, and I think as well the thing that kind of caught my attention with it, and it's the Jake Paul, it's the Eddie Hearn, it's the for want of a better word, banter that you're seeing between them, but they're using tools to pull people in. Becky Lynch and Bianca Belair using tools to pull people in.
That's a great shout, Danny.
I think I gave away the goose as well on Becky Lynch, because I walked in and she was already talking, and I was already like, Jesus, the press conference is going to start for 2 hours. What's she doing here? Took a picture, put it up. Nobody was meant to know she was doing that fucking entrance, and I went to let the cat out of the bag.
Rehearsing.
Look, Jace, there's Becky Lynn. Take a picture of that. Jesus, there's Becky Lynn, something like that on Twitter. Everyone's like,
Becky Lynch.
Oh my God, whatever. Sorry, Becky Lynch. Yeah, sorry. What was I calling her?
Becky Lynn.
Oh, sorry,
that's like it's a country music star from Alabama, man.
See, that's where my head goes. As soon as I pronounce the first 2 syllables, I'm like, Jesus, country music. No, but she was great. She was brilliant. Everything about it was great to what. Like, I mean,
so what's MMA afraid of then, Petey, in terms of promotion, in terms of hype and stuff? Like you said, there's a big card on Saturday, and genuinely, I wouldn't have known only for you said it.
Yeah, it's a huge card.
Yeah, Charles Oliveira, Justin Gaethje, Rose Namajunas, and Carla Esparza.
Big rematch. Yeah, so I mean, and then you have Mike Chandler as well and Tony Ferguson. It's a great card, but the issue MMA has is its success. UFC in particular is too successful now because they have that contract from ESPN. They don't actually have to do anything fucking special anymore. They're wheeling out these events in the UFC Apex, basically Dana's back garden. There's about 10 people at them. It's impossible to convey emotion and intrigue and stimulating the fan base when it's in front of 50 lads who know Dana White probably there at the fights and some family members. The reason they can do that is because they have that contract with ESPN. Like, they don't actually have to extend themselves to make money anymore. Granted, the pay-per-views are an extra. It's all an extra, and some of it's very healthy extras, I'd imagine. But really, they've made their money. And again, it's something that Ariel and Chuck talk a lot about. Like, Dana has ran the race. Like, he has done what Hearn has done. He's already done it. He's already made the UFC a 5 billion, whatever it was, company. He's already made $1 billion probably from the industry. Like, he is there's no stress on him to do anything outside of put on a card. Doesn't matter who is on it. Like, we've seen the bar for UFC fighter drop and drop since the pandemic hit. Who can get into the country? Who can we actually legally have on a card here? Who can we get to be on the card? It's not about how can we make the world watch this anymore. Like, that's like
that might change though, because their ESPN deal is up next summer, I think. And I was reading an article on postwrestling.com, and the article was about TV rights in America, and it really focused on MMA, UFC's deal with ESPN and WWE's deal with USA Network and Fox. And they were basically saying, with the success of the Formula One documentary on Netflix, that Formula One is making a huge comeback now. And Nick Khan, the president of WWE, had predicted it. He was saying Formula One is going to come back. And now Formula One this weekend is in Miami, and the stars that are showing up to that, so
the fact that
he shouldn't really rest on his laurels, Dana White, in terms of having that in his back pocket and not having to make an effort when Formula One is really sniffing down the door of a new TV deal.
I was going to say, the fact that you're talking about it.
The TV deal that F1 has is in the millions. WWE is in the billions, and UFC is in the billions. So who's lowballing who there?
You see, right, so there's a couple. The fact that you're talking about Formula One, Graham, in a way proves the point, because I don't think you've ever talked about Formula One on this podcast. No,
I haven't ever.
Yeah,
but I haven't been interested in Formula One since the late 90s, early 2000s.
And I can remember the title decider last year in Abu Dhabi. You texting me being
incredible.
Holy fuck. Now, I mean, look, as far as I'm concerned with that, across the season, Verstappen won the fucking championship. It doesn't come down to one race. You have to be in it for the entire year if you want to.
Well, it did for me and casuals like Graham, who only tuned in for the last race.
Exactly. And the last lap of the last race, like that fucking drama. Well, they've pulled that catapult back for a couple of years now with Drive to Survive on Netflix. You have to remember, right? So Formula One tried this with Amazon Prime about 6 years ago, right? And it was called like Beyond the Grid or something like that. I can't remember. And it just didn't work. It just fucking fell flat. But the American owners of Formula One bought it for like fucking whatever it was, and they've turned it into $1 billion industry now. And not only that, whereas they were previously paying Amazon to do this show, when they remodeled it and they pitched to Netflix, Netflix are paying them for the access and paying them to make this show. So they've got this big fucking massive advertisement now. So TV rights come into it in a way that everybody, it's like we've been saying about pro wrestling for years, Graham. It's the behind the curtain piece that you love more. And the UFC, part of the reason that the rise of the UFC, in my opinion, was like that you got behind the curtain value. When we were starting out with MMA, like our fandom or whatever, you go to a fight, you could get access to fighters, you could bump into fighters. When we went to Vegas, Graham, for, was it 189? We went to some UFC cook along and we sat there talking to CM Punk and fucking who was the heavyweight champion?
It was
Fabrizio Verdun. We're sitting there talking to them for like a half hour, just chatting away, and we're like, where else would you get this access? Now, that's all gone. You can't do any of that anymore. Like,
even the media days, like say, like we went to this big press conference. As I said, the undercard is there. There was fucking people playing bagpipes. You fucking name it. I was at UFC London in March, and it was a great experience for me. Look, all the guys are on that card. I've been covering them since there were nobodies. I walk in to my first event in 2.5 years, and suddenly every fighter is around me. Petesy, what's the crack? It was great. You know what I mean? Like Paddy, Molly, Tom Aspinall, all those guys that you've covered for so long. And it's just a great bunch of fighters. The UFC in the UK now, they're having their Irish invasion now, right? Like it's just, these people mean a lot to the fans over there, and they justify it. You know, they're great value. But at their media day, it was 6 hours of sitting down with one fighter coming out after another, half an hour each, and you're just like, the energy in the room's down. People are hungry, like they fed us and all, but you're just like, so you're happy to fight in the UK. Like, this is a historic moment. Like, do something fucking historic. Like, bring us out on the stage. Do something. Let's bring something as much as it will hurt me as an Irishman. Do something fucking horrifically British in the middle of that stage to make people realize, mark the event somehow.
And it's like what I was referring to in terms of the Formula One, like as I said, Dana is, as you said as well, PT, that money's in the bank from ESPN. They don't need to put out any extras. They don't need to add any flavor to any of their pay-per-view. But in terms of, I was seeing a tweet earlier on that was retweeted by Post Wrestling John Pollock, who was saying, he retweeted someone by the name of Phil Duncan, Danny, Formula One correspondent for PA. Yeah. A number of big names set to be in town for this week's Miami Grand Prix. LeBron James, Michael Jordan, David Beckham, Dwayne The Rock Johnson, Wycliffe Jean, Serena and Venus Williams, Pharrell, Ryan Reynolds, Dennis Rodman, Sam Smith, and then Eric Fisher, who is a sports business group correspondent, says, F1 is already in the midst of having a moment in the US, but this kind of star power helps take this to a big mainstream cultural level. The Miami event will be a real turning point for Formula One here. So Dana needs to get his.
Jake Paul will be there. I mark my words.
He will.
100%. But Dana needs to get his act together and make it more sexy.
I want it. Believe me, there's no one that loves sexy MMA more than Petesy Carroll. Believe me, I love being there with a semi-lobber on me, just going, Jesus Christ, look at this entrance, lads. There's nothing I want to do more. But until it happens, like, I feel like the sky will have to fall here, because as well as like the TV deal, the thing that, like, you know, you have to give the UFC credit where they deserve it. Like, they led most people to them subscriptions on ESPN Plus more than any other sport. Think about the sports they have there. NBA, NFL, MMA led to more sports subscriptions on ESPN Plus than anything else. So it would be crazy for them to let go of that too. So now they're in a situation where, you know, like, I can't imagine ESPN would be like, let's let all these people who signed up to see this UFC on ESPN Plus, let's just take it away and it'll be fine. You know, unless they get Formula One.
Yeah, they could bid for Formula One though, seeing that it's a bit more.
It would have to be that. It would have to be that, right? It's bringing in the same amount of new fans to the app as they will lose through the UFC. It
would, but you see, the problem then becomes, like, because Formula One is global on a different level to MMA, like, you know what I mean? Like, but what I'm saying as well is, you're making the point about the who's who is going to be there at Miami this weekend, Graham, right?
Yeah.
The fact that this is on the same weekend as a double header UFC title fight card. And I mean, you've even got some classics on that card as well. Shogun Rua is fighting OSP.
OSP, yeah.
Joe Lauzon, Donald Cerrone. Like, I mean, there's blasts from the past, there's nostalgia, and there's the new, and there's this is a card that 5 years ago, yourself and myself would have been talking about this for a couple of weeks. You know what I mean?
They need to tap into it, though. They need to tap into it.
This is the point. So when you're saying about the who's who of American royalty and sport being at Miami this weekend, that means they are not at UFC 274. And that is where, because again, half the thing about it is like you see who's in the crowd and you go, oh fuck, such and such is there. You know what I mean? But for me, I remember being at Lesnar Velasquez all those years ago in Anaheim. The Undertaker was there, and I was like, "Holy fuck, the Undertaker!" Do you know what I mean? Like, it does matter, those kind of things. This is the second Grand Prix. There's two Grand Prix on the calendar in America now. They race in Texas every year around October as well, the Circuit of the Americas. And last year, you had a who's who of rap, sport, the NBA, NHL, NFL, Texas royalty, country music stars. All these things were all coming out to get on the grid, try meet Lewis Hamilton, to try meet, you know what I mean?
I was going to say they're giving access to the grid as well. And
exactly.
Then I
see FEC, and it's funny I actually see the same thing that happened when MMA kind of went turned into Globo Gym. The same thing's happened to F1 now. Everyone's like, I don't want to see these celebrities on the grid. I was like, mate, they're going to be on the fucking grid, man. They are going to be on the grid, and that's where they should be.
Isn't it? It's a circle of success.
The UFC doesn't have, and I'm not a Lewis Hamilton fan. Of issues with people calling him the GOAT, but what he does, he brings that prestige to the sport.
Want to talk about it, Tony?
On the polarity, right? Like that's what he is. Like, you need people who make you care in extremes. He's the best. I hate the cunt. Do you know what I mean? Like that's it. That's how you need every
sport, isn't it?
That is sport.
Exactly, and he brings eyes to it, and he brings a level of legitimacy to a sport that has lacked that for so long. Motor racing in general in America has been NASCAR and a little bit of IndyCar, right? That's it. But now all the fucking sports stars who wouldn't be caught dead at NASCAR because it's the widest motorsport on the planet are now clamoring to get to F1 because they want to be there for Lewis. They want to be there for this wave. They want to ride the crest of this fucking wave. Name a UFC fighter that pulls that at the moment. Name a UFC fighter who LeBron James wants to be in photos with, wants to be there on fight day with an arm around him.
Well, I was going to say a lad from Crumlin there, but
I mean, a couple of years ago, maybe.
What time is the Miami Grand Prix on it?
The 7 o'clock airtime on Sunday
evening.
So we're just rolling through. We're gonna watch 260. That's what we do all doing, lads. Staying up for the UFC all night and rolling straight in. We can watch the Celtics at 8:30 on Saturday night against the Milwaukee Bucks. When that finishes, the UFC starts. When the UFC finishes, the F1 starts, and then my missus will leave me on Summit Stage during Sunday.
And here's the thing, because Buck Celtic is game 2 tonight, I think, as we're recording this.
Game 2 happened yesterday. It's 1-1.
Sorry, okay, so I'm behind then, right? This is what happens.
Call yourself an NBA geek,
right? So I call myself an aspiring NBA fan, right?
Danny, that's the second basketball game I ever watched, by the way.
Is it? So here's the thing, right? So I mute it now because of the time zones, unless it's on the weekend. And this is what I love about playoff season. The games are on like 5 o'clock in the afternoon on a Sunday. It's fucking great. But if the game's on at like 1 in the morning, 2 in the morning, I mute it on Twitter so that I don't get a spoiler because I watch it on catch up. But because I also mute it on Twitter, I forget the fucking thing is on. So,
and you looked your tits in sport this weekend.
Do you get this all on the DAZN dodgy box? Do you?
No, I have. I obviously pay my TV license. Me and Mero do as well. Obviously, yeah. But I have been known to see DAZN from time to time. Yes.
The zone.
Well, isn't that funny? We're talking about like polarity makes sports appealing, and then here we are talking about Katie Taylor, the most unanimously adored person. Like, she's a unicorn. She's a unicorn. Like in Ireland, like nobody's going like, do you know what? I hope she gets knocked out. I'm sick of her. I'm fucking sick of Katie Taylor.
Exactly. Nobody's saying that. Nobody ever will. And to be fair, we were saying who else is like that. And I think the closest person to her, although in the amateur ranks, is Kelly Harrington.
Yeah. But I mean, I think
Another
she inherits.
university love.
She inherits a lot of what Katie has done
Exactly.
before her.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
you feel like they're on the same bloodline, right? Like they're in the same conversation. Like, and
Yeah.
if they do this in Dublin, Kelly Harrington needs to be on the undercard. Even if it's an amateur bout, they need to have her on that card. Like, let it be
They do.
historic. Yeah. Let it
Well,
be.
I think I was going to say, do you think it'll happen? But I think if Katie wants it to happen and Eddie wants it to happen, I think it will happen.
Ireland will move bridges, like whatever that phrase is. Sorry, it's not coming to me right now. They'll move the world to give
Move
Katie
mountains,
something
man.
like that. Move mountains. That's Jesus Christ. Listen, man. A
Move
lot of
bridges.
research.
That's what I'd say.
It's the sandwich
a lot-
fog. It's the sandwich
It's a lot-
fog. You know,
It's a lot of research was done last week, lads. My
Yeah.
brain is
Yeah.
still recovering. But I think they will move mountains to give Katie her moment. And why not? Like, who's a
Absolutely.
better
And then I hope she
representative?
retires, Petey.
and I think
I want to, like, to be honest, at the end of that fight, I was like if she wants to retire now. But what Hearn said in the post fight, which is perfect as a promoter, once again, this guy he was out of this world last week. He said at the thing, he's like, well, if a fighter that belongs to me can get an opportunity to make money that Crow Park would give to Katie Taylor, that would change her life, that would change our kids' lives. Like, and it's not like we just saw her get knocked out here. Like, she's after being in one of the greatest fights of all time.
Yeah.
Like, why wouldn't you encourage her to do that? Like, if she wanted to do it, why wouldn't you be behind her? And if anyone deserves it, Katie does. Because one payday does not a life make, my friends. You know what I mean?
This is very true. And I think, Mero, to go back to your point around fuck, the name has just gone out of my head completely there. The old
moving bridges.
moving bridges, Jeff Bridges, or something to do with Jeff Bridges. No, our newest Olympic gold medal boxer,
Kelly Harrington.
Thank you. How the fuck did I
just
forget
said
Kelly Harrington? I know, but how the fuck did and also Kelly Harrington is like but Beach is 100% right. But you're 100% right as well in terms of that she has captured the heart of the nation. But as my old Latin teacher would say, post hoc ergo proctor hoc, Graham.
Exactly.
After this, therefore, because of this.
You took the words right out of my mouth, Danny.
Yeah, this is it. Move mountains
that as well,
Latin, Petesy. This is it. No, but it's true. It's because after this, therefore, because of this, Katie paved the way. Without Katie, there is no Kelly.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And that's the issue there. So, as amazing as
I don't
Kelly
know
is,
about that statement, lads. I think
I'm not.
Mero. Katie Taylor went and petitioned the IOC by herself to make
I
women's
understand
boxing a
that.
sport
I
in the
understand that.
Olympics.
I understand that and I accept that.
So it's not a sport in the Olympics without Katie Taylor. So there's no fucking gold medal for Kelly Harrington.
I know, I get that. I know. Yeah, but sorry, in that context, yeah, but I think Kelly was doing
Win or learn, yeah. Win or learn.
I think Kelly was doing boxing anyway. You know what I mean?
It's the
Win or learn.
yeah, okay, right.
Don't ever say that on this podcast again.
There is no opponent.
There is no opponent.
That's a screen grab for the pod there, Danny.
I wouldn't do that to him.
That's actually happened to be way too much. It's been used as screen grabs on so many pods of me taking out that book.
It's look, I don't know. I just think that I'm not trying to in any way disrespect. I'm putting respect on Kelly's name. Don't get me wrong, I am. But it's I don't think it happens without Katie Taylor.
Like Pete said, it doesn't, because the only reason why there was women boxing in the Olympics is because of Katie Taylor.
Well, I will say, I was choking back the tears when Kelly did it as well. Same feelings as what Katie gives you.
That whole thing of me saying like I'm super casual, I watched the highlights and I watched them on fast forward. That Olympic final, I didn't. I got up out of bed and I watched it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, we were texting, we were saying that our eyes are sweating, Danny.
Absolutely.
Elaine was literally like, never. I don't think she's watched a boxing match before in her life before that one.
I don't know who was cutting onions in my house that hour of the morning, but they were cutting a ferocious amount of them.
And
I think they had a plane flyer over Ireland, to be honest, just fucking chopping the shit out of onions.
The lead up to that as well, like the coverage of the parents' house and the interviews.
Brilliant.
I mean, I read today as well that now you were saying October, Petesy, but I was reading today, it was pinned for some time in September after the Ireland's.
I'd love that.
But it had also said, that Eddie or Brian Peters, is it?
Yeah.
They made it clear that they were going to try and move mountains to have it on RTE as well.
And bridges, hopefully, because they'll need to be moved too.
Yeah, we moved too.
Thankfully, we've got two of them over the Liffey that do move, so it's quite possible.
Petesy representing the bridges.
Yeah, you up bridges.
You up the bridges. I'd love to see, and more so for Katie than anything else. Like, I doubt I'd even get a ticket, but I would love to see it happen.
You have friends in high places now in boxing, mate. All right,
well, this is true. And now we've got a bit of blackmailing with you holding that prestigious best-selling novel. That work of fiction you held up. Fucking hell! But I just think, like, it's that again. It's the emotional play, isn't it? When you start to talk about sports stars and you start to think of them in terms of they deserve this. That's when you're in a scary territory, because nobody fucking sport owes nothing to no one. It doesn't matter if you're the biggest name or whatever. Sport owes you nothing. So when fans start talking about they deserve something, that I'm very uncomfortable with that. But at the same time, I'm sitting here and I'm very clearly saying Katie Taylor deserves a sold-out stadium in Ireland.
Because none of our professional fights have been in Ireland. So yeah, I agree.
And that is the perfect way to bow out. Win, lose, or draw. That's the perfect way to go.
Her legacy's intact after Saturday.
Yeah. I mean, she's done everything. She's the first through the door in every aspect of women's boxing. She's the greatest of all time. There's literally, you cannot change that now. You can't. No. I know people say Clarissa Shields, but Clarissa Shields isn't fucking petitioning the IOC to make it a sport. I know she wins 2 goals at the thing, but Katie Taylor's, can you imagine the documentary had me in bits, like when I watched it. I was in bits.
Brilliant.
Do you know the praying? Like, I'm not religious at all. But there was a scene in that where she's praying before she goes in and absolutely jacks an opponent up, and they're all like shaking. They're praying beforehand, and I was like,
in the hotel room.
Yeah, I was like, this is different gravy, man. Like, what this woman gives to this sport, and how much it takes from her, and how much she's still willing to give all the time is just. I've rarely seen anything like it. And to be 20 years in, more than 20 years, she's boxing since she's 6, 30 years in. And still be showing up the way she showed up on Saturday night, best shape for her life, walking out like the queen of boxing. I'm going out to a song none of you has fucking heard before because I don't give a bollocks, actually. I'm just going to come out to it because that's what my shit is. Came out and puts on that performance after nearly getting KO'd in round 5. She looked buckled, worse than you've ever seen her in her whole career. Then she comes back, and I can think of no better ambassador for Ireland than Katie Taylor.
Yeah.
That's a great thing to leave it on. Petesy,
it is.
Thanks again, as always, for coming on. No questions asked. You're only back since yesterday, and we're your first interview back in Irish soil.
Yeah, I got Phil O'Connor after this one, but I said not before the WTS boys have had their way with me. Will I do your show?
Make sure you brush up on your Celtics knowledge before you go talking to Phil.
Oh, I'm not going to say shit. I'm not going to say shit to him about
it. You can tell him I said the Bucks are going to win anyway. But yeah, Pete, before we let you go, though, we do need a very, very, very important bit of information for you.
Oh, no.
Anyone heading to New York, they're going to need a top sandwich joint, Petesy.
Yeah.
Where would you send them?
Well, I'm going to send them to where Ariel Hawani brought us, because I thought I was going to eat this by myself, right? I thought I'd just be sitting there. I was so nervous about this. I was looking up how to order the thing because there's some weird ordering thing to do there. So what happened was I went out on Wednesday in Queens for intensive research, and I stayed out there for a good 16 hours. Then I got to work the next day at the press conference, and we kind of had to shadow Helwani for the day then. Then we went and we did the first podcast of the week at World Trade Center at the Spotify head offices. So we're up, like, my ears popped on the way up in the elevator. Like, it's that high. 70th floor or something. They're showing us these arcades they have there. There's band rehearsal rooms, all this stuff. Record our first pod there, and then afterwards we went to Katz's Deli and we got the pastrami on rye and the matzo ball soup, and a culinary triumph was. It's one of my highlights of the whole trip, to be honest, just being there. And after that, just there's delis all over New York. Go and get yourself a classic Italian sandwich with the sweet peppers. Woo! There's so many different. Then you go and get a bagel, right? You have to get a bagel too. Get the bacon, egg, and cheese on a bagel too, because they say it's something in the water, right? That's what makes the pizza and the bagel so good there. And it has to be something, because I'm addicted. Like, I can't eat normal pizza now for about 2 months. I have to forget what New York pizza tastes like until I'm ready to eat the normal.
Petey, do you have a sweet tooth?
No.
Go away then.
I don't. I only savory, really, to be honest. Yeah, Yeah, I actually didn't eat anything sweet over there at all. Not
If,
even one thing.
American sweet stuff tends to be quite shit in general.
I beg your pardon. At the event, another historic moment happened. I tried Twizzlers for the first time. Fantastic. Red licorice. Chuck Mendenhall said, go and get us a packet of Twizzlers there. Came back and I was like, what is this madness all about? And 2 seconds later, I'm licking the bag. They're fucking beautiful. I bought them for Chuck and I think I ate 99% of them. I think I left them one.
Did you bring home any for the lion?
No, I brought, mate, do you want a story?
What did you bring home, Elaine?
Do I have time for a story?
Well, do you have time for the story? What time
Lads, you're gonna piss yourselves laugh. So Elaine asked me to get her simple thing. She goes, get me a pinstripe Ralph Lauren shirt. That's what I want. I said, I'll go to Macy's and I'll get it, no problem. Go to Macy's. They have none of the fucking shirts out. I'm like, oh, this is the last thing I'm doing before I go home. And I said to the lovely lady that was there, I said, I'm looking for this shirt. She said, hang on, I'm going to ring every store in New York to see if they can get it, because you can just check on the app or whatever it is. I'll be able to check if it's in any store in New York. She checks, there's none there. I'm like, fuck's sake. I ring Elaine. I said, look, that shirt isn't there. Is there anything else I can get you while I'm here? Just let me know what it is. And she's like, no. And I'm sick. I'm like, oh. I said, Elaine, please just think of something, anything. Just tell me what it is. Nothing. I said, right, I'm going to try and leave Macy's. It's going to take me 45 minutes to get out of here anyway. I never can get out. So I said, ring me if you think of it. Phone rings. And she's like, here, would you mind? Like, I know this sounds weird, but can you get me some Calvin Klein underwear while you're there? And I say, I just want something to bring her home she wants. So I was like, I'll do it. I'm never one of them guys go to underwear shopping with the girl, nothing like that. Not that cool at all. So I said, right, I'll go and get it. Took me about an hour with her on WhatsApp still to find where I get them. Then she has me there, have the fucking camera phone on, and she's like shouting in the middle of the place, not the roundy bras, the triangle ones, the triangle ones. So I find 2 triangle ones. This is the worst part. So I get the 2 triangle ones, and then she's like, show me the arse on the knickers. So I'm turning around. Right? That isn't the worst part, right? So she's like going, what size is this? Is the size, this is the size. And she's like, right, take them out and hold them up against your waist there. So there's me, underwear section of Macy's, the fucking camera on the ground, and me holding out a pair of knickers over my waistband. Lads, all I can say is they fit like a dream. Thank you very much. This is the levels I'll go to for Elaine. Most embarrassing situation in my life. At one stage, I turned the camera back onto myself, and she was like, were you in the sun while you were here? No. Just sheer embarrassment, love. Just sheer embarrassment.
I don't know why, but I was thinking of the Father Ted episode. And
that's exactly what I was saying. Yeah. That is exactly what I felt like. I was dying, and I walked into the Calvin Klein underwear section and nobody was there. By the time I got off the phone, there was like 50 people there, all like looking at me.
And were you
like,
successful in the end?
I got it done. But most embarrassing thing that's ever happened to me in my life.
And was she happy?
Delighted. She's delighted, lads.
That's the main thing. That was the main thing.
What did Reggie get?
Reggie, I didn't get him out. I just gave him love. Nothing. That's nothing.
Okay.
Yeah, don't bring back dog treats from America. They're not.
Exactly. Can't trust them. You can't trust
the standard.
Don't trust them Americans.
How is Reginald this better? We went an entire podcast without asking. I apologize for that.
He's getting very humpy, but I mean, only lasts a couple of months usually, and he gets back to himself. But my dressing gowns have been sacrificed to the god of Reggie.
They're a soft material, are they?
He has a massive hammer on him though. Like, this is the thing. Like, I mean, it doesn't match the dog at all. His hammer is. It's like the hammer of Thor on this tiny little dog. And when he gets his hair cut, like, everybody says it. They're all like, the size of your dog's flute, mate. And I'm like, didn't get it from me. I'll tell you that much.
How old is he now? 4? 5?
4 now. 5 in August.
Yeah, that's it. He's probably only finding confidence with that red rocket now. You know what I mean?
He has a board now, Bella. Yeah.
Oh,
no way.
Yeah. So hopefully she's not in heat, because we have not done anything to take care of that man's jizz. So if that happens, it happens. Do you know what I mean? I'm not doing that. Would you do it to your mate? You can't do it to them. I'm not doing it to them.
I did it to my dog.
I snipped my dog.
I had to. Pressure.
Yeah.
I had to, man. Lupo was a fiend as a pup. I was like, when he hits adolescence, this is game over. Like,
this is probably the worst Reggie's been since he was a pup. But we'll see what happens. You know, it'll be way worse to do it now. Right?
He tries to get up, and pre snip. And when he was tired, he used to try and get up on people on their legs and all, but he hasn't done it since he's got the snip last November.
It calms him down.
Yeah.
Calms now. Lubo had an inverted ball as well, so for medical reasons, we had to get it done early.
Yeah, like that's what I can remember just saying to the doctor. I was like, "Is there a medical benefit to this? Because if there is, I'll do it." Like, and they were like, "A lot of people say there is, but like, you know, it's not. There's no concrete." So I was like, "All right, fuck it then."
My vet told me different, so
I'm sure. Yeah, sure. It's exactly like if
my vet told me different based on the dog being a thoroughbred. He was a purebred.
Oh, Eddie, yeah, Reggie's not a Toro. He's a mutt. Yeah.
Did you see the documentary last night with your man with the fluke growing out of his arm?
Lucky bastard.
On Channel 4, your man had a fluke growing out of his arm, and he took his jumper off, and all you see is just a flaccid fluke.
And does it work? Like,
I turned it off. I was like,
I mean, does he get the excitement from?
I was going to say,
it was one of those Channel 4 documentaries. When I seen that, I was like, oh, what the fuck is going on?
Wait a second. You turned on Channel 4. And
yeah,
there was a TV.
That always happens at Channel 4.
Right, hang on. You turn it on, and there's an actual broadcast where a fella has a flute on his arm, and at no point did you say, "Well, now I have to watch." You turned it off. I would have been. The first question that comes to my head is, when he flexes, does it? You know what I mean?
I'm just trying to find the name of it.
I just want to know if it is, as it sounds, is the easiest masturbation tool in the world. If it does work.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Lucky bastard.
I can't find the name of it. But
doesn't he have to take his cacks off?
Tell you.
It's on his arm. The man, it was on last night. If you have a Skybox, go to it. The man, if you want to watch it, the man with a penis on his arm. 3 men with new or replacement penises tell their story.
Well, I'm glad you said the name, because we would have never have found it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
It's great to end on that, lads.
Absolutely.
The flukes talking about flute.
There we go. Yeah. Take a note of that one, kids. Google won't give you that. Actually, be careful how you Google that. Actually, would be the health warning I'd put on it. PT, people who want to hear yourself, Chuck and Ariel, solve all the wrongs that are currently in the world of combat sport and MMA, where can they tune in?
We're actually full up at the moment. We don't want any new listeners. So
fair enough. Seems reasonable.
There's a cap, is there?
Yeah. Once you hit 1 million a week, they're just like, "No, mate, just stop. It's a headache now." But it's the Ringer MMA show. It's only on Spotify. And it's the fastest growing MMA community in the world at the moment. We all met them on Friday night in the middle of Midtown in Manhattan, which was great. Well, not all of them, but a sorted bunch of them. And you can catch my videos on MMAonpoint.com. MMA on Point YouTube channel. And I should have some stuff out on RTE this weekend as well, and sometimes the BBC. So keep your eyes out for that.
RTE this week? What have you got coming out on RTE this week?
Magic Miles Price is fighting Anthony Petesy on the PFL on Friday.
Oh, well. And RTE want that coverage of that?
Well, they want me, you know what I mean?
Yeah, very good. Well done.
It's a great big fight for Miles Price, though. Imagine that. Hasn't fought since he beat Peter Queally. Imagine him popping back up 3 years later and beating Anthony Pettis. It would be mental. Like Peter Queally has fought for a world title since Miles Price beat him, and now he's fighting Anthony Pettis. I think that's incredible.
It is.
If for some reason that fight falls by the wayside, PT, just pitch your underwear story to RTE.
Yeah.
It's better than any of the comedy shows they've produced in recent years. So Mero, if people want to catch the previous episodes of this podcast, where do they go to, my friend?
They can go to WTSpod.com, or else they can go to any podcast provider and search WTS Pod, Podcast Republic, Stitcher, Podbean, Podcast Republic, Apple Podcasts, everywhere you can get a podcast. He's at Danjo Murray on Instagram and Twitter, and I'm at Merrigan Mania on Instagram and the Twitter.
Can I just say, Spotify, it sounds way better on Spotify, WTS, whatever reason, the best version to listen to it is always Spotify, in my opinion.
There you go.
Thanks, Petey. It's great because what I find is I bookmark it and it happens to pop up beside the Ringer every week.
Oh, that's
I get this flow of audio sensationalism that I enjoy.
Always just the sound quality on Spotify is outrageous as well.
It truly is. It's also it's the visuals, isn't it? It's the green and black just work so well.
It's everything about it. It's the Eddie Hearn of podcasting apps at the moment, I feel.
Indeed.
Get off his flu, will you?
I concur. Gentlemen, it's been nothing but a pleasure. PT.
Talk to you in a few months, PT Dimples Carroll.
I love you, boys. I love being on this show. Thank you so much.
Excellent. Until next time, lads.
Clear eyes, full hearts, can't lose.
Good week.